Very much, Mr. Denninger. We will start. Is the representative from the Homeless Services Partnership on the line?
Yes, I see both Denise Fox and Tanya Pace.
Yes, Mrs. Fox and Mrs. Pace, you have the floor.
Thank you. I really appreciate, this is Denise, and I really appreciate, first of all, having the opportunity to join you. And some of you may have heard about the Homeless Services Partnership, and some of you are new to council. So this gives us an opportunity, first of all, to kind of update you, to those that know us, and for those that are new, to kind of give you some information about what we do. So I get to start off, and I've been told I have to keep it very brief, and anyone who knows me knows that's really difficult for me. But I think the first thing that we kind of want to start with is to let you know what we're about and when we started. And we actually came together in 2013 in a response to what we were seeing on a national level as far as funding. What we were noticing is that there was a shift away from mission-driven approaches to serving certain populations and moving more towards a very rapid approach, moving people very quickly, and from our perspective, maybe moving away from systemic change. So what we did was wrote a grant collaboratively, and our purpose, of course, is to explore and raise awareness of the various causes of homelessness and the diversity of services that are required as we want to move forward and transform lives. So what we started doing is working together to provide effective and cost-efficient services, and we share resources, we eliminate redundancies, and we build on the strengths of one another. And I think sometimes you will hear that term silo, that we operate in a silo and we're not willing to share services. And what we wanted to do was to look at each individual mission to see if we were in fact duplicating services, because as we all know, that's not cost effective as we start to duplicate services. And then also, what do we do in moving our missions forward? So everything that we're doing is geared towards a mission-driven approach. It's meant to be systemic in change. It's not meant to be short-term. It's really meant to be very client-centered and client-focused. So we really are hoping that we can change people's lives, not necessarily a huge community at a time, but you change a community one person at a time. And this has been just an amazing partnership. Informally, we came together in 2011, but in 2013, we've written several grants just to help us explore how we needed to move forward. So that's kind of the overview and the purpose of this group. I don't know if you want us to go through a section at a time or open it up for questions as we go through each section, because our partners, of course, are Deidre Lashley. She's on. You can see Deidre from Bethany House. And we have Tonya Pace. Hi, Tonya. She's from Family House. We also have Rodney Schuster. We allow Rodney to be part of our group, and he is with Catholic Charities La Posada. And then, of course, Denise Fox, and I'm with Aurora Project. And I'm sorry, I should have done an introduction earlier. I guess I always assume that everyone knows us, and I forget that you don't all know us. So, and our approach too, I think one of the things too that's unique is, hi, Rodney, is that we also have an approach that has 2 emergency shelters and 2 transitional programs. And there's often this mindset that each emergency shelter operates the same. Each transitional program operates the same. And yet what we did and what we were able to determine is that the population that Aurora serves is a different population and a separate population as to who Bethany House serves. So that's one of the things that we were able to determine. And these are things that we can then communicate to the community as a whole, and also communicate to our individual donors, and then just communicate to everyone. I mean, we want people, our boards need to know that we are separate and we do operate differently. So are there any questions, or shall we just proceed and go forward from there?
I don't see any hands raised, but I do see one now. Councilwoman Dr. Whitman, you have the floor.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. Just real quick, first of all, thank you for the work that you do. I know working with the population, it does take true partnerships. Can you talk a little bit about the type of education? Because I think that's important to educate communities, neighborhoods about addressing the needs of homeless. Can you talk a little bit more about what does that look like? You know, what groups do you meet with? Because I do think awareness and education about services and how people even get in these situations is very important.
I don't know if my other partners want to jump in on this. We've kind of, Deidre, do you want to take it from there, or do you want me to answer? I'll let you go forward.
Sure. Yes, I was going to talk about our initiatives, and the public education advocacy together that we do is at the top of our list of initiatives. So we have successfully run 2 hunger and homelessness campaigns, which is part of a national initiative. So we did combine efforts to raise awareness with some PSAs, some print material, some event planning, which if you know executive directors and nonprofit agencies, to bring 4 of us together to run something successfully like that is a big undertaking. But we were able to, we've been able to meet with different representatives, state representatives, different providers in the community. We've brought in to talk to us about what services they provide and how we can collaborate together. So this is a collaboration that is definitely open to other partners and other voices at the table too. So we have found that, as Denise was saying, that we need to raise awareness in the community about the diverse needs of the folks that we're serving. And there's not one of our programs that can meet every single need in our community. We need each of our programs to be strong. We need each of our programs to have the funding that we each need to do what we do to best serve our community, because homelessness is such, there's not a one-size-fits-all approach for this issue. So that increased education in the community is really important to us. Another initiative that we've focused on, there's actually 4 initiatives that we've worked on through the years. Another one that we've seen a lot of success in is our staff training and development. We each have a variety of staff with different skills, working overnight hours, weekend shifts, and working in a shelter is a very unique experience. I always tell people, like, there's social services, but then there's working in a shelter, and you run into the good, the bad, and the ugly when you're working in shelter. And so we listen to our staff to hear what are the skills that you need, what is the information that you need to best serve the people that we're working with. And so they give us topics that they want to hear about. And for the last 5 years that we've been providing staff training collectively to our teams, we've provided over 1,700 hours of training at less than $100 per agency for our costs. We've been able to do that cost savings staff development because we're working together. We're bringing in different experts to talk to our staff and to provide them with the skills that they need to do their jobs well. And to understand the issues of the folks that we're serving, like the opioid epidemic, trauma-informed practices, ethics, boundaries, also vicarious trauma, you know, avoiding burnout from this kind of work, which is really intense for our folks. So we've been able to bring our staff together to share what their experiences have been, what they're seeing. And I think that they've all learned a lot from each other, just like we are as directors getting together and sharing what we're seeing and the trends that are happening in the community. Another initiative is sharing of resources and collaborating in our administrative costs. We have looked at how we can share in different contracts together, contracts that we all need for our facilities, like pest control, waste management, security systems, bookkeeping services, maintenance services. So we've looked at all of the expenses for each of our programs and really explored how we can best get the best deal, how we can come together to get the best deal for all of us. And if there's ways that we can share our staff. We have some of the programs are sharing staff people who have the level of skill that we each need. And so we're able to make the most of the resources in the community. other kinds of resource sharing that we are doing is called the giving tree, we call it, because if we have a donor that approaches one of us and has an abundance of a certain product, like Bethany House, I'll give an example. We got offered 10 pallets of bleach. Now, we're not going to go through 10 pallets of bleach here at Bethany House. I can't store 10 pallets of bleach, but I can call on my partners and we can distribute that with each other. And it makes it easier for the donor and it makes it easier for us to all manage the different needs that we have. So that's just a quick example, but there's a number of times where we're given large quantities of a certain thing and we're able to get it to each of our partners and share it in the community, which is a win-win and making good sense. Another initiative is our programs and services. So we really want to make sure that we're providing the best services to each of our folks, and we can look to each other to see what kind of expertise that we each have that we can offer to each other. So, or what are the resources that we are doing that we're providing for the folks that we're serving, and maybe we can stretch that into one of the other programs. So for example, Family House's clothing closet that they run, our folks from Bethany House can access the resources there, or the child care program that they have. Denise has shared different resources like different counseling services that have been really impactful for her folks that we can kind of piggyback on and share in that. So those are just some examples of some of the successes that we've seen in working together, let alone the 7 collaborative grants that we've written together that has raised over $200,000 for the folks and for the services that we're providing. And I would like to mention that along with the staff training, we are doing a collaborative grant right now to provide CPR and first aid certification to each of our staff through a CDBG collaborative grant. So we're excited about doing that. Another collaborative grant that we've been successful with is another CDBG grant for transportation needs for each of our programs to provide transportation to the folks that we're serving. So I know you all are aware of the transportation barriers that folks face. And so that's been a great need. It's been that grant's been put to well use. So I'll stop there and let some of the other partners speak, or if any of you have got questions about any of that information.
That was actually, thank you. That was very a very comprehensive overview. So again, kudos to your collaboration. Deirdre, would I contact you? Like if we have people or groups that we think would benefit from having a presentation about your services, are you the contact? Who's the contact?
You can contact any of us, but I'm happy to take any messages to the group and we can talk through the best strategy in getting to that contact person.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
You're very welcome, Councilwoman. Anyone else from council have any questions for our panel? Councilwoman Williams?
Thank you so much, Chair Dr. Adams. And this is an amazing collaboration that you guys have created. I definitely appreciate the work that you individuals do and how you've come together to create this solid foundation to help those that are definitely in need. One question that I have for you four directors that are here today is, what are some ideal locations for homeless shelters that you think would be good for the individuals that you serve to thrive and have those resources for them to move away from that situation? What are some ideal locations, like as far as services that are close in vicinity to you guys?
What I can say, this is Tonya Pace, is that one of the barriers that our clients face is transportation. So it would ideally need to be somewhere that is easily accessible for bus transportation. That's just one. And I'll give you, a lot of our clients have debt, old debt from utilities. So they would need to be able to access the bus line to get to the water company and other places that they may have to take care of bills of that nature. So that's just one example. Anywhere that is easily accessible on the bus line, that in my opinion doesn't allow them to, if you will, stand out, to not be able to fit in with the neighborhood, because that's one of the concerns a lot of the residents have, is they don't want to stand out. They want to, it's a home. Family house is their home, at least temporarily. So we want to make sure that wherever it is, it's a place that they feel comfortable and isn't somewhere that makes them feel out of place.
I would agree with that. What Dr. Pace just mentioned, transportation is key. For Bethany House, we're in our 3rd location right now, and we have an unpublished location for safety reasons because we serve domestic violence victims. And when we moved to this location, we wanted to make sure that the access to the bus line was there. We are not in downtown. We're not in the central city at this point. We're kind of on the outskirts. But as long as we're on that bus line and people can get where they need to be, that's been really helpful. And for our folks, we are in the middle of a neighborhood, but it's a neighborhood with a lot of apartments. And so for people to be moving in and out of our space does not raise a lot of eyebrows, because it's a well-populated area with a lot of traffic and a lot of people. And so when we have movement of people in and out of shelter, it just kind of goes under the radar, doesn't really ruffle a lot of feathers, because it's just a pretty concentrated area anyway. So that would just be my tip there.
I think too, and I think that's a great question. Transportation is key. It's also the ability to access, many of our clients are, involved with JFS, or it could be children's services involvement, and the ability to access those services is so key. And, if a shelter is located too far off the beaten path, then that becomes a real problem and a real issue for them. And I have to agree with what Tonya had said as well. The people that we are serving, in our case, women, the women that we are serving, want to blend into the neighborhood. And because of where we're located, I think oftentimes, because we are a house, I think we tend to blend in pretty well in our neighborhood. But if we're talking about institutional type settings and things like that, I think that's a concern. And at the end of the day, it's interesting, because if you talk to the people that we serve, all they want is what the rest of us have. They want that same type of a life. They want a home that's stable. They want to move forward with their lives. They don't want to live in chaos. And I think that's why when we come back to the partnership, we were sending text messages back and forth earlier. And I think one thing that we haven't talked about is the support that we have among the 4 of us. It is amazing. And, if I'm having a horrible time here, I can send a text message, which happens quite frequently sometimes, but I can send a text message to my partners and they get it, they understand it. And sometimes it's the ability just to be able to say, look, this is, I need to talk this through. So I think that's one of those undefined benefits to this partnership.
Yeah, and I just interject as well that, when you talk about what's a good location, I think we have to make sure that whatever the location is that we have the connection. In other words, when the folks are with us, we know their name, we know their children's name if there's children with us. And what we don't want is them to feel isolated, because they were probably isolated before they got to us, without support, without an advocate, without somebody to make sure that they're, being taken care of or getting the needs that they have. And so wherever the folks go, whether it be housing, individually or in one of our units, we strive in our missions to make sure that we continue to know their name, we continue to provide that service, that we continue that connection, and we continue to advocate for them. Because when you leave a protective environment like Family House or La Posada or Bethany or Aurora, you're once again out alone. And then you feel like, okay, who do I turn to? Who is my source? Who's my advocate? And that's where, we want to continue to be that. And I think it's important that in any of our services, and I think was mentioned earlier, you know, it can't be a one size fits all. Everyone's an individual. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a situation. Everyone has walked in a different set of shoes. And so we have to make sure we're addressing each one of those individual stories. And then that will have a unique pathway with the hope of independence, with the hope of finding meaningful employment, with the hope of addressing and overcoming any barriers that they have. And I think that's where the four of us bring different perspectives in our ministries to the table. And we are, I want to say, almost like on the forefront of what's happening in our culture. And then we have to adapt. I mean, this year we talked about adapting and pivoting because of COVID. Well, in our ministries, and sometimes we adapt and pivot, you know, every month, depending on situations and what's happening within our community. So that in itself, just the networking and sharing of best practices is one of those, that aren't a tangible or quantitative thing that we can point to, but it's definitely a benefit for all four of our ministries.
I'd like to call on Councilwoman McPherson.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. I would just like to commend the four of you for the work that you're doing. And I am so glad that you said that, sir, that it is a ministry. It is definitely a ministry and it is a calling. The family house, I visit a lot. I have had family members that have had to stay temporarily in the family house. And also I've dealt with students when I worked at LP Stewart that attended. You guys are doing a fantastic job. And to pull together your resources and the support, you could teach that to corporations really as to how to work together. As they say, we always say teamwork makes the dream work. So I just want to say thank you for your work, for your efforts, for the ministry that you are doing to those that are lost, that are abused, that are homeless, and that are feeling hopelessness at this time. Bless you and thank you.
Thank you for those kind words. And it's a passion for each one of us to make that difference. You know, on any given night, we'll have over 220 men, women, and children at our facilities collectively. And so that's a lot of people that we're helping. And I think is one of the things that Dr. Adams mentioned when we met with her. You know, we shared with her that as partners that we are together, we want to be partners with everyone, including, elected officials like yourselves. And so we're not coming to you asking for anything. We're asking if we can be of help. And so as you encounter either challenges or barriers, like we all talk about transportation, if we can be of help and of service in, sharing what we're seeing on the front line, that's what we offer. Because I think so many times people, might see us coming like, oh, they're going to ask for money. No, we're not asking for money. We're asking for, first of all, to have the awareness that you can see how we work together. But secondly, that we are willing to, spend time in meetings, night meetings, day meetings, whatever it takes to best serve those who come to us, to best serve our community from a community perspective. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Comives.
Thank you, Chairwoman Dr. Adams. Hello to all four of you. Thanks so much, of course, for joining us and certainly for all the work that you do. I really appreciate that ask for how you can help, because I'm going to take advantage of it because I'd never miss an opportunity. And you may be aware that there are a couple of housing bills in front of council right now that we are considering, and we actually have a hearing on Thursday next week at 5 p.m. to discuss both the pay to stay legislation that is before us, as well as source of income non-discrimination protections. And for many of the folks that you serve, they will be able to take advantage of both of these potential policies. And I would encourage you to take a look at those policies and read them over and see if there's any way that perhaps you and or the folks that you serve could potentially testify in favor and why it's so necessary and how it can help those folks that you serve when they're transitioning into their own homes and moving forward. So I just wanted to put that plug in there and put a little pin in that so you are aware that it's coming up, and encourage you to at least watch the hearing. But if you have the opportunity and the ability to send letters of support or to engage council members, I would certainly ask that you do so as we deliberate these really what tend to end up being fairly controversial pieces of legislation, but can really change the lives of many folks in our community who are facing potential of being unhoused. So I want to, again, thank you so much for all that you do, and thanks so much for your consideration and taking a look at those pieces and potentially helping us out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Comives. Any other comments or questions from council members? Well, I want to thank Director Fox and Dr. Pace and Mr. Schuster and Ms. Deidre for being here. What you do is just phenomenal work, and you're so passionate and enthusiastic about the work that you do. And you give so many people who don't seem to have hope, you give them hope. And I think that what you're doing is helping to make our city a better place. And I would like to reiterate your participation in our hearing that's coming up at 5 o'clock on, the date is, Mr. Comives, the date for the hearing is, Mr. Denninger, the date for that hearing. Do we have it set?
I only know what I just heard from Councilmember Comives. Next Thursday would be Thursday, December 10th at 5 o'clock.
Okay, so you're very welcome to come and testify or listen and see if it in any way can assist you in your work. And we certainly will be calling upon you when we need you to help us. And this would be a case where it would be very helpful. So thanks again for coming. You did a great job. I'm proud of you. I will have to make a plug for my soror, Delta Sigma Theta sorority, Dr. Pace. I just had to throw that in there. Really proud of you. So thanks again, and we'll be in touch. And anything you have to send us, feel free to send it to Mr. Denninger, and we'll share that and make sure that we distribute it to our networks.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fox. All right. Then we'll move on to the update from the Department of Neighborhoods. I see that Director Clemens is here. You have the floor.
Good afternoon, council member. How's everybody today?
Good.
Doing well.
Good. I wanted to today just give you a brief status about the rental assistance program and to talk to you about where we would like to go with the next round of COVID dollars that we are anticipating. I am going to share my screen with you. Let's see. Okay, so as you know, we launched about 3 months ago with $2 million of COVID money. We launched a emergency rental assistance fund. We partnered with two of our nonprofits here in the city, NeighborWorks Toledo and Lutheran Social Services. As of yesterday, NeighborWorks Toledo has depleted all of their funding and have assisted 374 households. Lutheran Social Services has assisted 204 households and have approximately $300,000 that is still available. So we will just keep that program going on the Lutheran Social Services side until the remaining $300,000 are depleted. You also have heard about the Pathways Home Relief Program that they're running, and they're also are providing rental assistance to citizens of Lucas County. And that program will continue until December 30th of this year. I believe they've got $2.5 million for rental assistance as well as mortgage assistance. The Pathways Mortgage Assistance Program, however, only will assist households up to 200% of the poverty level for the Toledo region. What DON is proposing to do with our next round of COVID dollars is to launch a mortgage assistance program to fill the gap that Pathways is not filling. The next round of emergency rental assistance that we have, emergency care dollars that we're going to be getting from CDBG, we want to use about $1.2 million of that to fund a mortgage emergency assistance program. The federal moratorium on mortgage foreclosures is going to end on December 30th. There's going to be a tsunami of potential foreclosures for all of these people that since March of this year were given a break because of CARES. There was forbearance, they were given a break and nobody could file foreclosure, but that ends on December 30th. So the question is, what is going to happen with all of those people? And we think that deploying the additional dollars that we are going to get, that we've been awarded, we think that deploying those additional dollars to provide mortgage assistance for those families that have experienced hardship, cannot pay their mortgage, and as of March of this year, if their mortgage was in arrears or not current, we would like to launch this program to be able to assist them. To give you an example, a comparison of the COVID program that Pathways is running and the income level that we would run for our program. The Pathways program will provide mortgage support, let's say for a household of 3. You cannot make more than $43,400 annually. With the CDBG COVID dollars, we can potentially assist a family. Let me just move up. We could potentially assist a family of 4 that makes up to $55,100. This is an 80% AMI household. So what we would like to do is to provide up to 6 months of mortgage assistance. We would roll out the program. We would have to go through a substantial amendment process to amend our consolidated plan. This is what's required of HUD. We would put together the program structure, hold a public hearing on January 14th, bring it to council on January 19th, and then hopefully be able to launch the program no later than January 30th. So that again, all of those families that are now not benefiting from a foreclosure moratorium that is going to end on December 30th, those are going to be the people that will then be eligible to apply for this new mortgage assistance. We would not outsource this to a nonprofit. We would use existing DON staff. We would use the administrative monies from the additional CARES Act to hire temporary intake staff. I want us to be able to deliver this project hands-on. I want us to be able to control the level of service. I want us to be able to have a one-on-one TA with homeowners. I want us to be able to, I want the Department of Neighborhoods to start building this capacity here instead of outsourcing it. So that is our goal. And we would have the applications available online. You could download the applications, fill them out. We would have, because of COVID, we would have by appointments. You call and you make an appointment, you bring in your package. Someone will go over that package with you, answer any questions. We will accept only completed packages. Because of the urgency of this and because of the what we experience with the rental assistance program, we don't just want somebody to drop off a package and then we keep calling them and you don't bring in the rest of your documents. So the goal is provide as much hands-on TA as possible via an appointment or via an open house day to really educate people on what they're going to need for this application.
Yo. So there's another meeting done by the Planning Commission that I'm about to hop into right now. All right, y'all. Peace.